Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guest and guru. Berman-Mikel is with us. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
Glad to have you with us. Let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
And while I do have a great team while developing a financing plan, I am the one that answers the phone. So give us a call. Again, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, we are celebrating today. What are we celebrating? National Toast Day. Rye, please. Can I have a little rye toast? That looks like sourdough. That's good too. Okay, so National Toast Day. And today's also National Chili Day. So should we ask it or should we not? I will. Beans or no beans? What's your preference? Beans or no beans? Put it in the chat. And if you're listening to us on ABC News and Talk, we do have digital radio nowadays. And you also know that your phone's listening, so we will hear you. With or without beans? I'm going to go with beans, just the way it's meant to be. Okay, let's see what the markets are doing today. It's fascinating trying to talk about the markets when you do a daily radio program discussing the markets, and there's nothing happening in the markets. They are ultra quiet. Now, when I talk about what's going on in the markets, I'm talking bond market because it's a home and finance show. If you want to talk about the stock market, yeah, that's been up. If you want to talk about the crypto market, Bitcoin has been very, very volatile. And one of those things, again, as the great Warren Buffett has said many times, I don't understand it, so I'm not getting involved in it. A stock that or a currency or whatever they want to call it goes up to 100 and some thousand. Now it's in the 60,000 range. No, thank you. At least with an NVIDIA, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can see they're selling something tangible. I don't understand the other stuff, but I do understand right now that the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 154 points. The NASDAQ is down 360 points. The S&P 500 is down 60 points. Oil is up 96 cents a barrel, and gold is up $17.83 an ounce. $5,182 per ounce right now. And if you remember January of last year, $2,700 an ounce. So do you think people are taking their money out of Bitcoin and putting it into gold? Well, I know it's foreign countries are the ones that are buying a lot of gold right now. So that's probably where the value has increased. What if they need liquidity? See what happens on that front. 10-year Treasury is down 2 basis points right now, 4.024. And we're looking at the mortgage bond, 10-year up 8 basis points. Remember, when the bond goes up, rates go down, but we are sitting right now on a level of support. And it's been a tough one to try and break, so I don't know that we're going to go any lower. If we do go lower, we have about 50 basis points of ground that we can go down to the next level of support. So we hope to get through there, but what's the catalyst? And that's the challenge that most people find. The only catalyst that's out there on the market right now is one that we don't like to deal with. What? Well, geopolitical events, they're the hardest things to forecast because it's not something that we can see. We can see that, okay, I told you yesterday that NVIDIA had to have another blowout. Now, they just had a great quarter. They didn't have a blowout quarter, so their stock's down 3 or 4% right now. That's what's bringing the NASDAQ down. That's what's bringing the market down, is because NVIDIA didn't have a blowout. I mean, you see a company that's growing like this, and if they don't do things that are just no one ever heard of, then the market doesn't reward them. They're being rewarded all the time, and their price is not high right now compared to the market and compared to other companies that are not doing nearly as well as they are. So you look and you say, what else is there that can drive the market? Well, unfortunately, the things that we're looking at or watching closely, Cuba and Iran. And neither one of those are things that we want to have affect the market, but they do. So we'll continue to watch all of these things for you. And tomorrow we do have the producer price index comes out. That's another one that does drive the market a little bit, because that's the wholesale level of inflation. Now, we know a lot of the Fed members, all they care about is inflation. They don't think that there's anything else in the marketplace at all. All they want to talk about is inflation, not the fact that now if you saw our commentary this morning, the market already sees that the freight industry is slowing down. Why would we watch the freight industry? Because if companies are not buying products, well, then it's going to show up in sales at some point. It's going to show up in GDP at some point. It's going to show up in people's pocketbooks at some point. So we watch those things, and usually the earliest indicator is something called the Cass Freight Index. And so we watch those things to see where those numbers come in and report them to you, because we know that if we get data, and I love listening to these companies and people who reference, and it happened in the State of the Union. Why do so many people say in the State of the Union that the president did not have the right numbers when it came to inflation? Well, like most of us, we don't trust the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They get their numbers wrong every single time. The president sees that, so you start going to the private sector. You go to the Truflation, which is where we did see the fact that that's what gave us the idea of, or the president, the idea of 1.7% inflation. Now, the other thing that people don't want to talk about, especially when you get to partisan politics, fake news, partisan news companies, is, did you know, and I just heard this recently, did you know every stat that the president references in the State of the Union is fact-checked and verified? And you say, okay, well, who fact-checks it? Well, it's done through the government, but here's the issue. They publish on X, formerly Twitter, exactly where the data came from. So if you really want to know where that 1.7% that the president cited is coming from, go to X, go to the White House website, or I don't know, whatever they call it, the page, and you'll find the data right there. So when they say that he's lying or he's giving false information, well, you can see where the data came from. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. When we come back, top mistakes homeowners are making in 2026. And we might even find top mistakes Ron Siegel Radio is making on social media with our social media guru and educator. We're going to talk about that and more. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990. 800-306-1990 or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you could retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. all without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis. rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
Are you a renter and tired of making monthly payments? Paying off someone else's mortgage? Hey, it's Ron Siegel here to help you stop renting and start owning your dream home with amazing low interest rates. And you could potentially qualify for a $500,000 home for less than $5,000 out of pocket. So stop renting. Start owning with Ron Siegel. Learn more at ronsiegelradio.com and start owning today. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the First Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app, and every day at this time, OBMMI. They provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They do not tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They only tell us the number you need to put in your mortgage calculator to determine your principal and interest payment. Don't have a mortgage calculator? We've got it for you. rsrlinks.com/calculators, rsrlinks.com/calculators. And you can get that free right there. What did rates do yesterday? Conventional 30-year fixed up 5.964. Jumbo 30-year fixed up 6.192. FHA 30-year fixed. That was down 5.881. VA 30-year fixed 5.638. That was up in the USDA 30-year fixed 5.732. That was down. Now, look at those rates. When you look at that sheet that Josh has on the screen for us, every one of those except one is showing in the fives. Now, if you're old like I am, then you remember that, the historic number for rates is in the sevens. We're looking at all of these in the fives. Now, I know a lot of younger people, the millennials, they're thinking about 2s and 3s and 4s because they remember from the days of the Great Recession, 2008 on, and we all saw all these unbelievable rates. Yeah. But historically, mid-sevens is where they are. So when we're now hitting the fives, think about what that means for your family. Don't worry about what the number is. Just what does it mean for your family in dollars? That's the more important part. What's going on today? Well, we put our market commentary right there in the Ron Siegel Radio community, rsrlinks.com/HBOD, rsrlinks.com/HBOD. And the markets right now, well, we see the S&P 500 is down 60 points. 10-year Treasury hasn't moved. It's still down 2 basis points, 4.024. The mortgage bond is up 8 basis points. Again, not a whole heck of a lot. And all of that stuff is available, as I've shared with you many, many times. Super secret website, google.com. Although I don't know, does anybody really use Google anymore? I know I find that if I go to Google, if I want to get ads, that's what I get in Google. If I want to get information, I'm going to Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT, one of the AI models. I don't know. You tell me, are you doing the same thing? But let's see. Apartment lists, though, they're part of the reason that we're watching some of the numbers. Something that supports the continued disinflation in housing, which makes up a huge part of the inflation reports, is that the latest data from apartment lists, they show that in February, new rents rose by 0.2%. But they always begin to rise at this time of year, and the increase was less than the previous years. As a result, on a year-over-year basis, new rents are down 1.5%, which is a bigger drop than the previous reading of down 1.4%. The list to lease time is near a record high since they started tracking it at 40 days, which is causing the vacancy rate to be at 7.4%. Also a record high since they started tracking in 2017. This shows that the shelter figures of the inflation report will continue to fall, especially because PCE report is showing shelter rising at 3.3% year over year. Remember, I just told you in the last segment how you just can't trust the information that comes out of some of these government reports because they're just out of touch. New rents make up 47% of rentals, while renewals make up 53%. New rents are down 1.5%, as I mentioned, while renewals are up 3% as they have more pricing power with the renter already in the home. Who wants to move? Blended together correctly shows that overall rents are only up 0.9% year over year, not 3.3% based on the overstatement. And the weighting of shelter with PCE core inflation is being overstated by 0.4%. Without it, core PCE would be at 2.6%, not 3%. Add in the temporary tariff impact of 0.4%, and inflation is really close to the Fed's 2% target. But for some reason, this political Federal Reserve, they don't want to reference that. They don't want to see that. All they care about is whatever the baloney number that they're getting from BLS, and they're not looking at what's going on in real life and what we're seeing in jobless. Now, the jobless claims measures individuals filing for unemployment benefits for the first time rose 4,000 to 212,000. We expected this figure to be lower as it's typical around holidays, and last week included President's Day. Continuing claims of those continue to receive benefits after their initial claim fell 31,000 to 1.83 million. This too is impacted by the holiday week as well. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. So let's get into our conversation. We've got, let's see. We'll have to see. Hope, Michelle, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good,
I had to
okay.
go back out and come back in, but there we go. Apparently,
Cool. So we don't even have to call Verizon. Michelle can hear us, and we're in good shape. We're not going to go with it. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? So we've got Michelle Berman-Mikel with us. She's a social media guru, and you got to wonder in many times, Michelle. So I want to throw this at you because I was glad that you looked at our stuff. Not glad that the findings means I got a lot of work to do. Actually, my definition of a lot of work to do means Josh. Hello, Josh. But one of the things that I look at and I think is very, very misleading, and I think it's misleading to me, and I want your opinion as the guru. So I look at my metrics. I put up an ad, I get 30 to 50,000 people will see the ad. And that's in a 10-day period. I look at my personal Facebook page, and I think the last time I looked at it, we had 1.9 million people saw our goodies on my personal page. We've got, 250, 300,000 people see our stuff, or not see our stuff, subscribe to our channels and all that. Yet, as a expert, you look at it and say, we got work to do. How do we square all those things?
Yeah, I will say, candidly, I guess is a good way of saying this before we start. I appreciate the sentiment of being the social media guru, but really, I want to be more understood for being a prospecting expert using social as a vehicle. And why am I saying that? Right? The reason is not that I'm not great at social, because we are, and what I do does impact all of that. But my superpower is being able to look at somebody's content and see what what I see when I look at your stuff and say, are you making money from it, Ron? Right? Like, are you making money from the time and the effort and the output that's being put into all of that? And the answer, if it's yes or no. But most of the people that when they reach out to me specifically, it's, hey, Michelle, I put a lot of time and effort and energy into all of this stuff on social. I have great video content. I have all this micro content going out. We're posting consistently every single day, but I haven't made any money. I'm not getting messages from people asking me to do loans or asking me to, asking to hire me for something, XYZ, whatever the industry, right? And so the problem is that I believe truly, and I'm saying this so honestly, that we are living in the most dopamine driven society on the planet. And what does that mean? That means that people care about the metrics that you're describing way, way too much, and not enough about where is that actually equating to as far as dollars and cents for my company. Is it or is it not? Right? So I say this from a outsider perspective, looking at everything I saw this morning when I did a whole bunch of research on everything. And I say, I'm not seeing branded content, right? Meaning I don't see a personal Ron Siegel brand at all, really. I see a lot of multiple pieces of the same piece of content everywhere, right? Even on Instagram or YouTube, there was 5 or 6 videos that it was like posted 10 times in a row, right? And so you look at some of that stuff and you're like, something is amiss. And then the third piece to that, or sort of the caveat that I would then ask you, is if you guys are putting time into an ad, well, there's 4 things. So this would be number 3. If you're putting time and money into an ad, are you looking at your data, right? Because just putting money into an ad is cool, but when you look at the data itself, are they coming to your website? Are they converting? Are they clicking, right? Are they moving through that funnel? And then also, what are the demographics, right? My husband is currently in the middle of building his online coaching company, specifically for hybrid athletes, athletes that want to run, and also military tactical athletes, him being a retired special forces guy. And this was one of the first things we noticed when he ran his first ad, was it looked like impression wise, the numbers were awesome. But then you look at the rest of the data and you start to study it and you're like, well, why is 87% of the people consuming my website from India? That doesn't do me any good, right? So when you start to look at the metrics and you really dissect all of that, you're like, something is amiss. So again, I think that's number 3. Number 4 is, are you guys intentionally sending outbound messages using the channels? And I'm not talking with AI, right? Because ManyChat doesn't count here. I'm saying, are you Ron or are you Josh behind the scenes outbound messaging with the intention of getting calls booked on your calendar to do more mortgages? And if you're not, then that's where the disconnect is, right? So if you're spending X on social output as far as content and time and video editing and all of that, but you're not putting the same, if not more quality time into outbound messaging, you're going to end up spending a lot of money and not making any money.
So that's a fascinating thought, of the idea of, one would think that, okay, if we're putting stuff on social, that is an outbound message. But from what I'm hearing from you, that's kind of not really the real area. That's not the area we want to focus on.
Yeah, it's reactive, right? In the sense of, you're putting all the content out there, which is, great that you're as active on the platforms as you are. But the content I see is falling into what I would call the indifference category, meaning I don't care enough to say yes, I don't care enough to say no, therefore I do nothing. So if you look at a lot of your content and the engagement is next to nothing, a lot of that is because your audience is tone deaf to what you're sharing, right? So when you look at all of your graphics, sort of the, Canva, I don't want to say Google graphics, but kinda, right? Where it's more animated and it's just sort of not real, I think is a good, and it's also, there's a lot of words on them, right? Too many words. People just don't care. They just tune you out. There's not a lot of who's Ron and what makes him a good husband and what makes him somebody who's in radio, like what makes him all of these people, or for all of these people to get to know outside of work. And that's the real power here. And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I'm trying to help make you better. And I think that
That's what we
what
like.
people need to pay attention to.
Yeah, and that's obviously more important, and I like that idea, and I'm hoping that by our conversation, using me as the guinea pig, that others will learn and want to connect with you and see about how you can help them as well. We're going to continue this conversation is, how do I get people to know me? Do I want them to know me? So we're going to talk about that when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, it's 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Are you like many of your neighbors trying to figure out how to pay off your debts so you can retire someday? Build bigger savings. Invest in opportunities. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Debt will destroy 50% of Americans from being able to retire earlier and with more. What if you could have a guaranteed program that could show you how to eliminate all of your debt in 10 years or less, all without having to spend more each month than you spend right now? Yes, that's correct. All without spending more from your checkbook each month than you are today. Get your free analysis today to see if you qualify. Visit rsrnodebt.com. Log on today for your free analysis, rsrnodebt.com. No purchase necessary. The free analysis takes only 2 minutes. rsrnodebt.com. Ron Siegel Radio is your home and mortgage connection. Go to rsrnodebt.com. rsrnodebt.com.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 0186945.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the first Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Top mistakes homeowners are making in 2026 and how to avoid them is our subject today. Let's be clear, selling your house is absolutely possible right now. According to the National Association of Realtors, NAR, roughly 11,000 homes sell every day in this country. And the sellers who are making their moves happen all have one thing in common. They've adjusted their strategy to match today's market. They're realizing inventory has grown. Home buyers are more selective and buyer expectations are higher. The sellers who struggled are usually approaching today's market with yesterday's expectations. Here are the 3 biggest mistakes they're making and how to avoid them. Number 1, pricing based on what their neighbor got a few years back. Setting your price is the most important decision you make when you sell, and the one that's most often mishandled. Realtor.com data shows almost 1 out of every 5 sellers in 2025 had to drop their price. Here's where those sellers went wrong. Buyers have more choice and more negotiating power now that inventory has grown, and house hunters will actively avoid your house if it feels like it's priced too high. That's why overpricing usually leads to fewer showings, less competitive or lowball offers, longer time on market, and all 3 of those side effects aren't things you don't want to deal with. What to do instead? The good news is the cure is simple. Just price for today's market, not yesterday's headlines. Lean on your agent's knowledge of recent comparable sales, current competition, and local buyer behavior to land in the value sweet spot that drives traffic and urgency from day one. Number 2, try to skip repairs that buyers don't expect. A few years ago, you could sell as is and still getting well above asking. Today, not so much. Right now, NAR says 2/3 of sellers are making at least some repairs. And the reason why is simple. In the market with more inventory, buyers compare homes side by side. Homes that don't show well or feel dated are going to lose attention quickly, even if the issues are minor. What to do instead? Ask your agent which high-impact, low-stress updates they'd recommend for your house. The goal isn't perfection. It's helping buyers see themselves moving in without a mental to-do list. Small investments in staging, repairs, and curb appeal can make a huge difference in how quickly offers come in and how strong those offers are. Number 3, playing hardball when buyers try to negotiate. Today, buyers have housing affordability at the top of their minds, and since money is already tight, they'll be pickier and will probably ask for some compromises from you. Whether that's making repairs, giving them a credit at closing, or just a few $1,000s off your asking price, negotiating is normal again. So if something pops up in the inspection, you're going to need to be open to talking about it. If you're not, you may very well see your buyer walk away. And some sellers are figuring this out the hard way. Redfin data shows one of the big reasons home sales fell through in 2025 was inspection or repair issues. Odds are those homeowners weren't willing to flex a bit to get the deal done. What do? Meet with your agent to make sure you understand what buyers in the area care most about. Align your price with value, present the home clearly and confidently, and stay open to reasonable negotiations that keep details moving forward. You might even want to get a pre-certification from a home inspector. Bottom line, sellers who succeed in this market aren't doing anything extreme. They're pricing their house right, making strategic repairs, getting local guidance, and making decisions based on how buyers actually behave today. Those small but mighty mindset shifts could make or break your sale. Want a plan, a real plan, tailored to your home in the neighborhood? Give me a call at 800-306-1990. I'll put you in touch with a great real estate agent anywhere in the sound of my voice. I've got their report cards, and I can actually share them with you. That's the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Continuing our conversation and journey, we're talking to Michelle Michael this morning and chatting about using social media. Are you just out there throwing garbage against the wall? Maybe I am. And should you actually be doing it the right way and understanding with a strategy from someone like Michelle? So welcome back, Michelle. I don't see you on there. Maybe hang on a second.
Here I am.
There you are.
Yeah.
There you are. Okay. So before the break, Michelle, we were talking about that you were looking at my site, and I need help, which is good, right? I mean, I never ask somebody to go and blow smoke. I don't blow smoke at anybody when I'm talking to them about home finance or radio or things like that. You want to talk to somebody that's going to give you an honest input, or else you can just go in the bathroom and talk to the mirror and you'll hear exactly what you want. So how do I go about the idea of, if I want to let people know who I am, how do I do that?
Well, I think it's a loaded question. So let's back up just a little bit, because when you're creating content for social, like, for example, Instagram, I think you had 75,000 something followers, something like that, right? So you look at that number and you're like, dude, I'm killing it. But you look at your content and the engagement math is pretty much zero. Meaning, like, if you look at all of the pieces of content, nobody's engaging with any of it. And so why is that happening, right? And if you look at all of your content on Instagram specifically, just for sake of conversation, it's all graphics. There's no Ron involved in any of it. And all of the graphics, there's two other pieces to it. One, they're not sized properly for Instagram, which tells me that they are not built for the Instagram platform. There are certain metrics, or sorry, not metrics, that's the wrong word. There are certain measurements that are required for Instagram content so that it doesn't look cut off and the squares aren't all weird. So that's one thing. The other thing is it's not branded to Ron, right? And what does that mean? Like, Michelle Berman-Mikel, if you look me up on Instagram, Berman Media Social, I have spent countless hours before we launched this thing on the branding or the aesthetic of what my content looks like. And I'm a psychology nerd. I studied it all through college and have for years since post-college around social psychology as well as selling or sales, right? And how do we actually get people to make decisions, especially on social? So my master's degree is actually in social media public relations, which is was a very interesting degree, and so relevant to today when you look at how many people are posting and slandering all over social all day, every day, right? How do you navigate that? But as far as branding is concerned, I built a lot of, or put a lot of emphasis when I was building my branding on how do I want my content to represent me, right? Meaning, if someone looks at my content, what are they going to say? What are they going to think? And most importantly, will they stay? Right? So those are the three things. And for me, my color palette is black and turquoise. For those who know me, know my favorite color is olive green, and my whole house is olive green and black and gold. But that's not what you see on social, because for when I was building my content for social specifically, I said, I want my content to be reflective of my very high D personality. I'm on the DISC profile, I'm a very high DI. I also know that I live in a very crowded digital space, and I'm trying to get attention in a way that garners trust, right? So turquoise represents trust on the color wheel of psychology. So when you combine those two colors, the idea is that you have this very authoritative figure that people can trust. Now, obviously, the rest of my content has to play into that. It's not just about the colors, it's about the content that goes with the colors. But again, when I look at the Ron Siegel brand, that's missing. That's not anywhere. There's no emphasis throughout that. As far as content is concerned, it's just graphic. So that's number one. Number two is you really have to show up as a human being. In the age of AI, especially right now, going from 2025 into 2026 even, my signature thing I've been, screaming from the rooftops on every stage I've been on so far this year is that we don't need louder voices. We need clearer ones. What does that mean, right? That means that we don't need more content. We don't need more videos. We don't need more gadgets. We don't need more tech. We need less of it. And we need to be way clearer on what is our goal, what is the outcome, and what are we getting out of it. And then lastly, what are we asking someone to do, right? Meaning, like, what do we want them to do when we produce this content? So when I look at yours, I don't understand any of those. Like, none of those exist, right? And I think that's where you have just a big disconnect, because it's loud, it's not clear. And I think that's where, you say, I have, a certain number of followers on this page and I have a certain number of thousands of impressions across all the platforms. But again, are you generating ROI from it, or are you not? And most likely, based off this conversation, right, that's a piece that we're lacking.
Well, and I think anybody that's well, maybe not, but from my perspective, anybody that's in business and still trying to grow business, none of us are probably getting as much as we want. Otherwise, we would, be probably going a different direction. So, while we do get some, we don't get enough, right? So, and when you have an expert like you on chatting and saying, something, maybe you can get better without having to do more work. I think most of us would rather do more business and less work if we can
100%.
be more efficient and do it the right way.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And that's what I want for everybody, right? So, and when you introduced, you said social media guru. And what I really want people to hear is I'm not your normal social media person. I'm not going to sit here and say, focus on videos, focus on how many followers you have, focus on your analytics, because frankly, I came out of, in 2014 when I first started my company, Berman-Mikel PD. I was 24 years old and I was really involved in the Instagram game exclusively. So I really wasn't on LinkedIn or TikTok or any of these other platforms at that point. Instagram was really booming for most people. And what I was doing was buying and selling Instagram accounts like you would buy and sell real estate. So I would buy them and flip them for profit after I grew them, and I would sell ads on them in the meantime. Now, why am I saying that? Because in that process, I got very, very hyper aware of fake followers, fake likes, fake all of these things, right? And everybody's fallen victim to that. I don't know anyone in in the elite space that hasn't, because that's what everybody did back then, right? And I think when you look at that, that also lends to, it's not all what you think it is, right? It's kind of smoke and mirrors. When you see someone that has 75,000 followers but no engagement, there's a disconnect. And typically that's part of it, right? And so I come in and I kind of feel like the rescuer, right, from Down Under. If you guys remember that movie from when we were kids, I know I just watched it recently with my 4-year-old and he loved it. But when we watch that movie, it's true. But when I say it, what I think of is I come in and I say, Ron, hey, I'm going to save you a bunch of money because you're not going to spend money on all this other stuff. And instead, we're going to fix all of this so that you can actually go make money with less content, and less outbound, less output and more outbound, right? So when you post content, what happens is you're posting and you're waiting for people to reach out to you. You say, I've checked the social media box today. I've done a good job, but that's not enough, right? Because people need a reason to actually say yes to you. So I always kind of take this one upon myself to say, you got to shoot your shot. And I know that I don't want to leave my success up to somebody else. I don't want to leave my success up to, is someone going to feel like messaging me today? And instead, I'm going to go send the messages and take the bull by the horn and create my outcome that I'm desiring, which is booked calls on my calendar, speaking gigs that I get the pleasure of traveling across the country to. I was looking at hotels this morning because I get to go to Daytona in June. Who doesn't want to go to Daytona Beach, Florida in June? Like, so cool, right? But that was because I shooted my shot, right? And said, hey, to this individual that runs this company, I know that we both know each other based off of our relationship with this person. I'd love to jump on a call and just see if there's any synergy between the two of us. We had an hour plus long phone call, and first thing he said, I went to your LinkedIn and I looked at everything. I already bought your book. It'll be here on Saturday. I'm going to read it. And can we talk again on Monday? Great. So we talked again this past Monday, immediately asked if I'd come to Daytona in June to speak at his event. And so my content mattered, right? Because if I hadn't had the content in place that I needed to have, he wouldn't have said what he said. He wouldn't have said, hey, I want to jump on a call with you on Monday, and then have had that time to dissect it leading up to that. So if my content looked like crap, then that conversation would not have gone the way that it did. But the point is that I had to message him first, right? I had to reach out and shoot my shot, get the opportunity to be on a call with him. That then in turn made my content matter, where he went back and looked at it and said, who is this Michelle girl that reached out to me? And my content solidified, this gentleman really did want to talk to me, not the other way around, right? And so that's where I would say to you, hey, your content needs fixed. And then we got to outbound. We got to send messages. We got to intentionally reach out and create opportunity for ourselves, knowing that our content is going to back that up.
Interesting. I want to continue this conversation when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. Reach me anytime. Off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. We will be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Are you earning a safe, secure 10+% return on your investments? Is your credit score over 800? Are you living in the home of your dreams or simply where you think you can afford? If the answer to any of these questions is no, what are you doing about it? Text ATP to 79564. Complete a 3-minute complimentary survey, and the area trusted professionals of Ron Siegel Radio will reach out to you to develop a success strategy for you. Again, all you need to do is text ATP to 79564.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 0186945.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the first Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime. At 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And we're going to skip our Borrow Smart segment today just because, there we are. So Borrow Smart is brought to you by GetHomeselect.com, GetHomeselect.com. And I'm just going to tell you, if you want the best loan on the market that's going to get paid off the quickest of anything, go just visit the site, GetHomeselect.com. Because I want to get back to our conversation with Michelle, and we're talking about, I guess I got to stop saying social guru. It's social conversion guru.
However you want to say it is fine. Prospecting expert, whatever.
Yeah, from our conversation this morning, and I think that, if you're on social for just fun and games, right? If you're which I don't agree with, but my 5-year-old grandson is on social media way too much. But I'm not the parent. I'm just the grandparent. And a lot of young people are on social just for fun and games. Okay, that's their plan. But if we're on social to try and make money out of it and to try and develop a business out of it, I think that's a little bit more intentional. And I think that's really where your focus is, if I'm hearing correctly.
1,000%. 1,000%. Yeah, I don't post content just to post content. I post content knowing that I am going to be outbound messaging and sending or creating, right? In sending messages, trying to create opportunity for myself. And what that means is that people are going to look at my content probably after the fact, more so than before the fact, right? Because if I send someone a message and I say, hey, Ron, I know you and I are not connected, but we have a mutual friend, Kirk, and Kirk told me about this, this, and this that you did with him, and I used to do this, this, and this with him. I thought it would be fun for us to connect, and are you available on Monday or Tuesday to jump on a call? And then what happens is you immediately say, who is this Michelle girl that reached out? And you go and you look at my content, but you wouldn't have found my content prior to that, most likely, right? So again, I think it's an invert of a lot of what people are paying attention to. And I think that's the key here, because I make way less content today than I did in the past. I post 2 to 3 times a week. I show up on TikTok every day. I hate TikTok, but I have to be on there. Right now, I'm currently in the process of landing my first TEDx, and they require it. But as far as overall volume of content, I don't even really look at video views anymore. I don't really care. Right? I don't care about how many followers I have. I don't care about how many connections I have on LinkedIn, because I look at LinkedIn every morning and I open it and I say, oh, my impressions are up 12%. Cool, whatever. But I don't attach myself to the metric, because, for example, next week, I won't be on LinkedIn hardly at all in the mornings like I normally am because I have 5 webinars next week. Like it's a busy week where I'm not going to be on social as much because I'm in my business, not just projecting, right? Which means that when I look at my metrics, my impressions are going to be down next week just because of that. Does that mean that I'm not doing a good job? Does that mean that I've done poorly on social this week? No, because all 5 of those webinars I have next week were all sourced using social as the vehicle to get them. Meaning I sent a message to someone to create opportunity for myself through social as the platform that I created that ability through, right? Meaning whether I messaged that person through LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, social was the platform that I used to create the outbound message to get myself that chance. So I think we just, again, I said this early on, we're living in a society that is far too attached to the dopamine aspect of what the numbers say, and this is supposed to make me feel good. But I mean, frankly, I care about what's in my business bank account, and can I take a couple months off in the next 6 weeks knowing that I'm about to have a baby because my P&L looks good, right? That's what I care about, and that's where my energy is spent.
So let's switch gears a bit then, Michelle. So if somebody wants to get to grow and they want to connect with you, I know you've got a book that's out. I had it on my desk. I don't have it here right now, but tell me about your book. Tell me about your business. How do people connect with you?
Yeah, so the book itself is called The Black Line. It's a play off of the black line on the bottom of a pool. For those of you guys who know the sport of swimming, you know what that black line represents. But for those of you who don't, I spent 20 years staring at that black line in the middle of my lane as a competitive swimmer from the age of 5 all the way through graduating from college. I specialized in the mile, so the longest event on the swimming program. And really why I wrote the book, 2 things. Number one, I have always felt like I've had a voice. I've always felt like I had something to say, and I never had a platform to do it, whether in my own personal life at home or whether in my professional life. I also just felt like I was living as a square peg trying to fit into a round hole for most of my childhood and all through college. And so when I wrote the book, part of it was a sort of call to arms of, hey, I get you and I feel you, and also wanting to feel seen by other people. So on the personal side, there's that, but really the black line aspect is I stared at that line for such a long time, for so many years, that it taught me something, right? And discipline for me was built long before I started my company. Discipline for me was born out of 5 a.m. swim practices for 15 years, where I was probably doing anywhere from 3 to 6 miles worth of meters per day, right? So discipline for me was built way before 2014 when I launched Berman Media, and to transfer or to sort of transcend time and move from 2014 to today. That's 12 years. The black line represents the path forward, right? It's a way for us to get rid of the shiny object syndrome, stop paying attention to what everybody else is doing, and just listen to a girl who has lived it, breathed it, and is executing at a very high level on exactly this outbound strategy every single day, and not attaching myself to the metrics of what I feel like anyone and everyone, especially social media speakers on the circuit right now, are saying.
So how does somebody get in touch with you then? Just going through your Instagram account?
I mean, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, my website, BermanMediaPD.com. I'm everywhere as Berman Media Social. Super easy to find me. I try to make it easy. And you can send me a message. Tell me you heard me here on Ron's show, and I'll make sure that you know that someone did, Ron.
Beautiful. Well, and something we've learned a lot today, and at least I've learned a lot today, and I hope that we've been able to educate some other people that want to do business on social, not just do busyness on social.
Totally.
So I really appreciate your input, and I'm going to want to talk to you. I'm going to be one of those people that want to talk to you offline also before you, or either before or after your hiatus. But I know you're really busy, so I appreciate your input. I appreciate you joining us on Ron Siegel Radio. And as always, we ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today, and of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, Call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. And remember our motto, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.